What if I told you the chorus effect in TONEX might be the missing piece of the puzzle in your TONEX tone? In this quick video, I'm going to break it down parameter by parameter so you can dial in exactly the kind of chorus sound you want. Fast, simple, and musical. First, let's explain what a chorus is actually doing. Chorus works by duplicating your signal and slightly delaying and pitch shifting the second version. An LFO, or low frequency oscillator, is used to slowly and continuously change the pitch and delay time of the wet signal. When you blend it back in with the dry signal, it creates movement, width, and a rich doubled effect, like two guitars playing the same part, just slightly out of sync. Let's quickly break down the three chorus controls in TONEX: rate, depth, and level. Rate controls how fast the pitch modulation cycles. A slow rate gives you a smooth, subtle movement. Faster rates create more obvious warble or shimmer. Depth controls how intense the modulation is on the duplicated signal, how far the pitch strays from the original. Low depth gives you gentle doubling. Higher depth can create a more dramatic, even C6 style warble. Subtle for width, extreme for effect. Level is the blend, how much of that modulated signal you're hearing compared to your dry tone. Lower levels keep it natural and tucked in. Higher levels bring that chorus front and center. The key really is balancing all three to match the tone you're going for, from barely there, sparkle, to fully washed textures. Let's take a look at how these actually sound. So now that we're over in TONEX, I'm actually using some tones from one of my latest collections, which is the Z Gold Ultimate Collection. It's a set of 3 iconic Dr. Z amps captured through an incredible 112 Celestian gold-loaded cabinet, and what a beautiful pairing these make. If I turn the modulation off and just have a little dab of reverb, here's what one of the tones sounds like. This is from the Dr. Z X-Ray amp on kind of an edge of breakup style tone. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. That's the tone I'm going to be using to demonstrate the sound of the chorus. So as we know, we come up here in TONEX and we have our modulation block, and I can turn that on. And we can obviously choose from different modulation effects. This video, as we know, is simply about chorus. Starting with the rate, let's just leave the depth and level here on their kind of default settings. And we'll start off with the rate. As I mentioned, that's going to control how fast this modulation is actually cycling. So you can hear a very subtle stereo effect here, but as I bump that rate up, we'll go to extremes like we always do. You can hear a much faster warble or shimmer. Now, if I crank that depth up and the level to extremes, there's that sort of seasick warble we were talking about. Can actually be very cool for a very special effect. Obviously not if you want something nice and subtle, where you just want a nice chord to have a shimmering stereo effect to it. So with the depth and level all the way up, if we adjust that rate, you can see how it slows down how quickly that modulation is cycled. Okay, let's move that rate up to around the middle section here, and we'll take our depth now down to nothing. So as we mentioned, the depth is working on how intense the modulation is, how far it's going to stray away from the original signal. So you can hear here, it's not quite as noticeable, but as we go to the other extreme, we see it's a much wider and intense modulation. So again, we'll bring that back. Actually, we'll just leave that there. Now the level control, when we bring it all the way down, we basically don't really have a whole lot of anything going on as far as modulation, because we're hearing mostly or all just the dry signal. But as I blend in that duplicated modulated signal, I now have blended as much as I can in with the original signal. So how can we set this up? Well, a couple of my favorite settings. Obviously, if we are going for something like I was messing around with before, very warbly for an effect, we can crank everything up. Or Those kind of things can be kind of cool in a mix, kind of buried underneath to almost give more of a synth type vibe to the tone. But obviously we're not going to want that for everything. If we want something that's going to be a beautiful shimmery complement to the tone, I like to go with a fairly low rate so that we don't get that quick movement that really lends to that whole seasick kind of a feel to it. I'm going to take the depth and maybe bring it up to, I don't know, maybe around 1:30 or 2 o'clock. And then I'm just going to blend things in with the level. With that level of 0, I'll just kind of blend in the amount that I want. So you can kind of hear dry. We just blend this in so that it's not making things sound too overtly out of tune. So beautiful tone there. We can just use our level control, kind of blend things how we want them. If we want a little more depth. But for this kind of shimmery tone, I always try to keep that rate pretty low. If I go faster, we run that risk of maybe giving things a little too much movement. Now there is the sync control where we can time this to a song on the type of note that we want to set it to, quarter note, half note, and whatnot. But I don't usually use sync a lot on chorus. I like to have that subtle control over the rate. Well, there you have it. If this helps you get better chorus tones from TONEX, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Got questions or video ideas? Drop them in the comments below. And if you like the tones in this video, the Z Gold Ultimate Tone Models are available at the link below. See you very soon in the next video and enjoy the music on the way out.